Like the old target.
Well, you're still open, Holly.
You're here.
Here's your back. Okay, thank you.
I don't have name tags for Rick or Holly, but we will give them this time.
I know who I am.
You know, oh, really?
How are you?
Okay.
Unfortunately, there are other folks that do too. Jim, I did something without permission. I wrote a letter to Steve Hadron saying I thought it was outrageous that as important as the Human Rights Commission is now, that we have to depend on the Planning Commission to have the courthouse open for us.
Oh, but it's always been that way too.
Well, then it's time to rock the boat. I've been trying for years. I know, Bruce.
We felt lucky to get a meeting room at all after the pandemic.
And I do have something I want to talk about that too.
Okay.
About meetings like this.
Well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Thanks.
Lisa has an excused absence because she doesn't know the meeting.
Okay, Lisa is excused, and Kim, here, Bird, here, and,
New member should be showing up soon.
not yet,
It's not here yet.
and Larry.
Yep.
And Holly, Holly's here, and
Rick,
Rick is here, and Aaron, not yet. Guy is on Zoom.
Here's Lance.
Jamie, Lance here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Linda here. Jamie here. Nazanin, not yet. Carol. And I'm here. Ellen. Jim.
We're all here.
Here. Okay.
Okay, we'll do our land acknowledgement. As we gather today, we acknowledge that Eureka, California is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We honor all indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these indigenous people. We thank and honor the indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align with and follow the lead of local indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. Of course, I just had you do the roll call out of order. Sorry about that.
Okay, we're at the right spot then.
And were there any agenda adjustments for tonight? Okay. And the first thing I would like to do is do some chair notes. I want to first acknowledge that Tina Taylor and I attended the Southwest Eureka Rotary Club meeting last Friday, and she did a PowerPoint presentation on human trafficking, and it was extremely well received. So she did a great job, and I think it enlightened some folks that didn't have any idea of the scope of the problem. The second thing I would like to do, and I'll give him a chance to speak in a little bit, I'd like to welcome back Lance. Thank you for coming back to the commission. He is our second returning commissioner within 2 months, and he makes us full 15 members for the first time in years. And we will hear from him shortly. I wanted to interject a thought that was provoked by something I saw on television this afternoon, and it's kind of pertinent to our meeting agenda tonight. Today, I witnessed an extended discussion with a very intellectual man of color and a representative of the Anti-Defamation League. Eddie Glaude, an eloquent speaker, was brought to tears when considering what happens to our country and our way of life if we cannot elevate the discourse nationwide. There were obvious references to historical fascism and hate of all kinds. You and I must consider what we can do in our remote corner of Northwest California to elevate public discourse and stand up to hatred and its rhetorical and physical manifestations. Yes, the commission has many of the same old challenges in our community, but now we seem paralyzed and unable to even discuss our differences and support diversity without someone becoming enraged. If the Human Rights Commission can do one thing right now, it is to set a standard for free speech versus hate speech versus civility. I'm sure the subject will be continued. And Lance, why don't you tell us who you are?
I'm old. Yeah. I have been a member of the commission in the past and moved to the Sacramento area 4 years ago, and I've come back in the last few months. I missed Eureka and Humboldt County terrible. This is where I consider home. I am a retired mental health director with Humboldt County. Before that, I was the assistant director of mental health and drug alcohol in San Bernardino. I have also served on the mental health board here, and I'm also a member of the Boys and Girls Club. Of the post-retirement efforts that I've made, I think those three are the most important for me. You may not know this, but there are a lot of counties that don't have human rights commissions. I don't know what the number is, Jim, you know?
I think it's 11 or 12. Otherwise, they're molded into human resources offices.
Disappointed in the Sacramento area to not see a human rights commission, in part, I think, because, well, leave it at that. Disappointing. It's great to be back in a county that respects human rights, as this one does, and a great job that you've done, Jim, with the board. Others here, I'm sure, have had contacts with the board. It's not always an easy thing to do. I know I worked for them for a lot of years, and they can be interesting. Jim's done well. The board respects what you do, respects you guys, and makes Humboldt that much more special. That's who I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda would be approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was 2 months ago. Were there any changes?
I'm sorry, I was not at that meeting, but I did read the minutes and I had some things that were mostly typos or clarification. They don't change them at all. If I just give you mine, you can just go through it. I mean, it seems like you left out the word call in somebody's thing. So if I just give them to you, absolutely, I think they can be approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that stipulated, is there any objection to us calling the minutes approved? Thank you. Hi, can you see us and hear us okay?
I can see you and I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Unmute yourself.
He's not muted.
I think it's our computer volume.
I think it's your set, not
It's
mine.
muted.
Stop this movie, but we don't hear
Everything's going.
Can you hear me now? Hi there.
Well, okay, folks. How do I get the volume in?
You're turning up your volume, but I don't know if you can turn up mine.
Volume is on the lower right. right here. This is the volume.
Oh, I'm here.
Right here.
That's
No, right down here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's down there. I didn't want to reach across here.
testing 1, 2, 3.
Yes, pretty small.
Testing.
Maybe right there, that little,
This one?
oh, okay, sorry. Exit on,
Well, it's microphone.
oh, right there.
Ready
Where
for
it
my,
says X.
you
There
ready
you
for
go.
my,
Turn
you
that
ready
up.
for
There we
my
go.
singing debut?
And I gotta-
moved to Humboldt.
There you go.
How about now?
So
Testing,
before that.
testing.
Oh,
You live in Riga?
Recording recording in progress.
Click that, just click on and off and see if.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
So did I.
Oh, how did they sign that?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
There's a problem on this end.
Lisa?
Testing, testing.
And so are you Lisa?
I'm Holly.
Oh, you're Holly. Okay, Lisa's not here.
I don't know what to do.
I saw the name tag, so I just thought I would.
That's up
No, I.
quite a bit.
You were here last week at the foot came.
Yeah,
My headphones connected to this.
Technology.
Pain in your neck.
These are the speakers.
I can hear
That
that.
means nobody can hear us. If he can't hear us, I bet.
Can you chat a message if you can hear us? Can you chat a message if you can hear us? Get over there, right?
Yeah,
No.
Hello?
I think he's doing it. Oh, there's Lisa.
I can hear you.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Lisa, can you hear us?
Okay, yeah, I did. I think I had the wrong link. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that.
Going to the audio. What it's choosing. Maybe someone else can look at that and.
Hey, Lisa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go over by that where it says mute.
You can hear me.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You guys, I don't know if they can hear us.
What did we usually use? The first one was surprising.
Okay.
All right. Nobody can, I don't know.
Hello, testing. Does look like it's picking it up a little bit.
We can hear you. We can hear you. You can't hear us.
Now we can.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I can sing now?
Can we turn that up any more? I would hope so.
Because you guys are loud and clear here, and Lisa can hear me, but
Okay, well, we can hear you, but you're not coming through very loud.
well, I don't know. I got my thing, let me check it again. I'll try to turn my microphone as full as it can go, but
Their speakers are here.
testing. Can you hear me now? Any better?
Yes, that's better.
A little bit, but you're going to have to talk quite loud,
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Okay. Well,
All
we'll
right,
try.
we'll give this a try.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's like I said, been hearing you for a long time, and I kept changing my name and putting new titles on there saying, see, we can hear you. But apparently you couldn't hear me. So I will change and get my name back up there, just so you guys know. Oops. So anyway, you're looking for a treasurer's report. So let me give you the nuts and bolts real fast. I don't take 5 minutes. I don't know why we have 5 minutes, but maybe one of these days we'll need it. The bank balance for our minuscule amount of money is $326.92 as of today. And that hasn't changed in I don't know how many months, just so you know. And our county balance, I don't have an exact amount because I haven't heard from Ian, but it's somewhere between $5,000 and $5,500, somewhere in that range right now. Because our original balance from the county budget was $7,000, and we spent $1,500 on the PSAs. And I want to say they really look very sharp. I did see them on Channel 3. So that's very cool.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Sorry for the difficulties.
That's okay. Otherwise, like I said, hopefully I'll hear from Ian as far as getting an update on. I kind of asked him if we could get a quarterly report, but it's not usually important. We don't have a lot of activity as far as budget goes.
Okay, any questions for, yes, sir?
Yeah, you mentioned the two. You mentioned the 326. Is that sort of money that just can be used as needed by the, what's the difference? I wasn't sure what the difference is.
Well, we've been dealing, at least for the last few years, we've been principally using money from grants that we've gotten, and we have an account with local bank, and that's the balance in there. And then just this last year, we finally got a line item in the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors budget, and that's why I've given two amounts this time.
Okay, I have a question for the commission.
Sure.
If someone were, the thing is, if a commissioner or a commissioner's family or a good friend were to contribute to the commission, would the commissioner need to recuse themselves from any decisions that were made about expending the budget? Did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we've run into that issue, but I'm not sure that really would be any real concern of a conflict of influence there.
Restricted to a specific thing or project or event, then I would think that person would need to recuse himself or herself. But if it was just given for the work of the commission, I would think it would be all right for the person to be part of the discussion.
Nazanin?
So is the $7,000 the county budget, is that a yearly thing, or do we just get that like one time?
We've got it one time so far.
So
when would the year be over?
Well, we won't lose it if it's not spent.
So
But the new fiscal year
yeah.
is, let's see, probably just started July 1st.
Oh, okay. That's right. We did talk about
But question, did Bert's comment?
Well, yes, but I'm also thinking if it was given generally for the commission to draw on for any number of things, because I mean, the 326 does not seem like very much money. And if the commission would like to maybe do something to support one of their projects, that could. And I think that I would, well, I would propose that a commissioner could contribute money. Let me just kind of say this. I don't want to take a lot of time, but let me just sort of think this out. And would not need to recuse themselves. And I would almost, I guess, like to see if there could be a motion, or I could make a motion of a policy. And then if anyone in the public didn't like it, or if the county council or somebody, they could say something differently. But it seems to me it might be nice to have a policy that we can say that we have. So if someone does contribute, say something, that either that they need to recuse themselves or they don't need to recuse themselves.
Okay, I think I know what to say now.
Okay, go ahead.
But for one thing, it would have to be on the agenda. And so that would have to wait until next month.
Sure.
But it is something that would probably be best run. Once we knew what the motion was, then we would pass it by county council for approval. And then we'd be okay.
Okay. So with your permission, I'd like to maybe have you consider adding that as an agenda item for next month.
Sure, and if you'll contribute the wording that you're proposing,
Sure, okay.
then we can have it on the agenda.
I will say that in the past, we have had donations and there has never been any problem.
Okay, okay.
We're just being ultra careful recently.
Okay. Well, but I think, if county council has an opinion, it's always nice to have those things worked out before. a decision is made about money rather than after.
Right. If I can get the wording that you're going to propose, I'll show them this before our next meeting,
Okay,
and we'll know when we're voting.
okay, I'll try to email you something.
Sure.
I would, go ahead.
Hosni.
I'm a little bit concerned about the idea of people on the committee donating money to the committee.
Well, that's fair, but let's have that discussion when the motion is made.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point for us to consider also.
Sure, absolutely.
I think what we should do is have that proposed wording on the meeting agenda for next month, but not a vote on it. The vote would then come the following month, so that there's a chance for people to discuss it, think about it, the public to hear about it, and perhaps say something if they want, just as we would have if we were doing an amendment to our bylaws.
Guy.
Yeah, and before you act on it too, please have them check, the 700 form that we all have to fill out regarding any, financial interests dealing with county business. I think a lot of that's going to be covered in that already.
Okay.
And Lisa has.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to find out if the fiscal year started in July and we're at $300 already. I just want to make sure that math is correct, because I feel like we're not asking for enough, and maybe we should be mindful of some other stuff that we could be doing and asking for. And I was wondering whether or not it would be even because I'd like to see us go out and do more outreach.
Well, just to clarify.
I'll clarify again, to keep in mind that $300 is our account from previous grants. It is separate from.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
it's separate from the money we're getting from the county now.
Okay.
And I think the only other thing we need to find out about is what Jim mentioned. What we haven't spent will roll over. Whether we get any additional money this year with the tight budget, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, and I don't know if Jim has heard anything on that
either. We'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, well, that was a longer Treasury report than we thought.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions, folks? Okay. Well, we do not have a guest speaker tonight. Keep in mind Maggie Kraft will be with us next month doing a presentation on senior housing.
She's from Area 1.
Don't see any members of the public either on Zoom or in the room. But if there are, we would take public comment at this time. Item 9 is emails and regular mail. Anything from anybody to report?
Jim?
I do have an email that was sent to me from Maxwell Hawk at Equity Arcata. And I'll just read you the email in case anyone's interested in this. Equity Arcata received an engagement invitation regarding Redwood Region Rises, SERF, Community Economic Resilience Fund program. They are aiming to uplift the voices of underrepresented communities as they work to distribute grant funds in the community. One of the opportunities for involvement is receiving a presentation from SERF representatives. We wanted to see if there is something HEC would be interested in an upcoming meeting. So HEC is a Humboldt Equity Consortium. Additionally, the project coordinator, Rachel Lamel, is in the process of organizing listening sessions with community members from marginalized groups. Speaking to our talks recently on compensating for time, those who take part are eligible for gift cards. They are looking for help spreading the word to recruit participants. So I will give this to you so you can write it if you want to use it for reference. Basically, I had gone to a meeting that is put on by the city of Eureka. It is a Humboldt Equity Consortium. There's a group of people from different backgrounds that are trying to help the marginalized communities. And the biggest thing that we're talking about is the compensation for time, because people are working, they're maybe working minimum wage jobs, or they're taking care of their kids. And I know we've had this discussion here before, so I think this is important, that this group is offering gift cards, not cash, but it is gift cards. I don't know where they're from, for people who would like to take part in this.
People who would like to take part in.
Okay, so they're looking for help spreading the word to recruit participants for the group at CERF, Community Economic Resilience Fund program. So it's kind of complicated. I'm just reading it as it was written to me. I can get more details on it and bring them the next time. The only thing is their session is October 16th, November 10th. But what I can do is I will kind of figure out what exactly this is all saying, and I can send that in an email as well.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other emails or communications of any kind?
Should I mention?
Yes, go ahead.
Jim forwarded a request for participation similar to the one you mentioned, and it's for the state, and it's called the Equity Council, and I'm on it, representing the Native American population in Humboldt County. They are proposing community events where people can participate to submit their ideas for community projects. There's money from the state, and it's quite a bit, it's in the millions. That's for the whole state. And when I get further information, we were supposed to meet tomorrow, but they canceled that meeting. But when I get more information, I'll share it with everybody so that if anybody's interested, especially in the community, and it has to do with any project that has to do with equality, advancing diversity, and so forth.
It's another good opportunity. Great, thank you. Okay. Item C would be Correctional Facilities Liaison Report.
Commissioner announcements.
Well, I thought we just did that.
That's what I'm doing.
Were there any other commissioner announcements?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Yeah, so I did attend the Humboldt Equity Consortium meeting, and I wanted to give you an update on Bestie Hondo. So Fernando Paz was there, and he is connected with Latino Net. I think he mentioned that you've asked him to come and speak. So that's still up in the air. I did also ask the group if they have any speakers, if they want anybody to participate in some of our meetings, we would be happy to talk with them about being a presenter, because they are representing groups that would be good for us to hear from. So I did get that out there at the meeting. Bestie Hondo, so they thought that it went well. They did not get a number count. They said there were too many people coming in from different directions. They did say that they are hoping to work on it sooner the next year, if it happens next year. That was not a for sure thing. They might want to have a group effort between Cal Poly and CR to make this happen. It sounded like maybe some of the things, loose ends, were left up through the last months prior to the event. I didn't attend.
I tried.
And I thought about it, but then, it came so fast, even though we waited so long. I don't know, it was weird. But they are going to try to make it better next year with a lot more notice. They want more groups involved, and there were community meetings that took place prior to the events. My suggestion to them was to have community meetings every month starting now, if they want to do it next year, because it seems like there's a lot of effort that needs to be put in this. And then they also mentioned kind of that thing where there's no pay. They want to think about trying to find a paid director of the events, or someone who would actually be, a professional coordinator or manager. So that's something that LatinoNet is looking into, is to make it a better event for next year. And then also, I kind of wanted to say something that we talked about in this group, and also in many of these groups that I'm attending these meetings, is the safe space concept. I go to the city hall at Eureka City Hall. That's not a safe space for anyone. We come here, we're attached to the jail, we're in a courthouse. This isn't a safe space for people who want to be part of this group. This doesn't have good memories, this whole building. We're surrounded by law enforcement. So I think that at some point in time, maybe we can visit the idea of moving this meeting. Because I know that we've had issues, just getting in, reserving the room. It's kind of a small space. No one wants to come in here. It's kind of small. We don't really have a sitting room. So maybe we can visit looking at like the Finger or the, some other county building that can allow us to be a little more inviting for people who want to come and see.
If I could, go ahead.
Just a suggestion, the new Veterans Building, I know it's a city building, but they seem to be wanting to have things happen there. So that's maybe a possibility.
One on each.
One on each street, the newly remodeled, beautiful building.
Yeah.
And they have different size rooms and so forth. And it's my understanding that they would welcome groups wanting to meet there. Now, I don't know about an ongoing every month, but it's a possibility to look at.
Something we could discuss, that there are some logistical problems, namely being rent, being one of them, and technical access as well.
Well, and also is that conversation of safe spaces,
Yes.
because it's typically older white people, right? And so I think that that's something we need to think of from a different perspective. I know that my experiences are mine. It's hard for me to, I can't be in someone else's shoes, but I can imagine that what's comfortable and what's not, or what could potentially be, not a welcoming place. So I think that this is a discussion, and maybe even a work group possibly, or something that we could discuss and go check out venues, maybe ask people in some of these groups where they would prefer. I know that with the city of Eureka, we kind of talked about, we're going to take the meetings from the city of Eureka to the Adorning Center. The Adorning is still city, but it's not welcome. They've got a gym, they've got family oriented stuff, they're on the waterfront. It's not a city building. So
I don't know that they have technology.
Adorning does. Yeah.
Oh, they do. It's new.
Okay, well,
Can we put that on the agenda? For next
I
month?
just made a note of that. We'll put that on the agenda. I did want to make a comment about Festa Hondo. I don't know if Jamie will have anything to add, but there were communication issues there, in that it was originally supposed to be at Humboldt State. And of course, that's where I showed up to be. And there was nobody around. And it wasn't until I contacted Jamie that I found it was at CR instead. So I went down there. And if it weren't for the fact that Humboldt State or Cal Poly was offering a tabling setup, we wouldn't have had any place for our materials. So thank you for making that work.
And I'm glad you clarified that, because when they told me it was the CR, that confused me. I was like,
I know.
am I in a different world? Because
I didn't remember ever getting an update that changed from one location to the next. Maybe it was there, but I missed it. But anyway.
I don't know where I got the update, but somehow I got it.
I'm glad you did.
And it was great having the Human Rights Commission stuff on the table.
Good. Did you feel that there was a good turnout or?
Yeah, it was good turnout. A lot of people came. I gave out a lot of resource cards. Yeah. And it was nice because it actually made me think about on our table, that was the only thing in Spanish. And my partner was with me and he speaks Spanish, so that was helpful.
Yeah.
But I was just like, we really need to have some more information. These events that's in Spanish. So we're working on it as a department. The Human Rights Commission helped me.
All right. Any other commissioner comments before we move on? Okay, now correctional facilities liaison.
Well, been very quiet, pretty much. There are two gentlemen that have been calling consistently over the last couple of months. I don't know, one of them actually, or I believe it was in August, actually used up the message line over and over again. So there, he'd call 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and as I said, fill it up. And finally, I got back to the liaison, and we had to cut his privileges off. So, but as I've found now that he's one of the ones that is calling again, and I essentially, I believe I was Cheryl that got the message, and essentially what I told her is that we're not going to cut him off at this point unless he starts filling up the message line again, in which case we'll cut his privileges off again. But now, I think he's got some definitely issues that, he's in other worlds a lot of the time, and it's, I don't know what else to say. There were a couple of female calls that I feel by him, I believe. You want to speak to those?
Yeah, I had one that I mentioned at our last meeting, so I'm not going to rehash that one. And then the next one I had, it was a caller, and they were consistent about calling and very nice and friendly. I thought we could get her a job. I mean, she was very customer service oriented, and I was really not understanding what she wanted. I think she just wanted to talk. And maybe it was a free call, so she continues to call our line. I did set up a telephone call with her through the jail liaison, and I waited for an hour for her to call me, and she never called me. So I checked the message line, and she called the message line, and she just repeated the same thing. She wanted to know how the Human Rights Commission can help her. What can we do for her? No issue noted. And since I couldn't reach her, I sent a message out to an email to the jail liaison and asked them if they could just print her a copy. I asked if they had flyers. They said they did not have any brochures or flyers for the Human Rights Commission. That was what's the woman in charge? Bryce.
She's the liaison.
Yeah, Bryce said there were no flyers on site, so I did send her a digital copy and asked her to print it for the person.
Excellent.
And then we never heard from her again. So I think that
wasn't that person the one that said she had been in for quite a while and hadn't been charged?
that was the first one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, that was the first one. But I searched them. I don't just go into this blindly, right? So I searched their names to see what their charges are, because I want to know, like, how can I help them more when I have a conversation? And she was just arrested on a warrant in July, I think it was. So she hadn't been in there for a year. Maybe it was previous charges, but didn't seem to be any issue. So she didn't call back.
There.
I think, when we went on our visit to the jail, the Lieutenant Christians made a statement that 70% of the inmates in that institution are waiting to be charged, waiting for a court appearance. Wow.
There's a really
Pretty critical. And again, I think that just speaks to the overburdened system that we have. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we essentially just got your report for August 1st through the 15th.
Yes, there was one more caller that called during that period of time. She called several times, and she basically had a conversation with her initially, and she said that she had a complaint. She told me what it was. It was nothing that we could help her with. So I gave her all the resources, and she said she had called McGuire's office. She had talked to Supervisor Bushnell. She had done all the things that she needed to do, wasn't getting the results she wanted. So I assured her that I would contact Bushnell. I did contact her via email. I got a response from Supervisor Bushnell, and she did say that she would reach out to this caller. I noted that. She continued to call after that. There was nothing else I could do. So I documented that she called, but there's only so much we can do. And she had all the information.
Larry, any additional calls?
No, I think on to the, I see you got the future scheduling next.
Yeah, well, I'll report that I had here the 1st through the 15th. I had one call, and that was the one I referred to you. So
It's actually like 5, right?
it was, yes, it was multiple calls from the same person. So at any rate, and then Carol took over.
Yeah, I had 4 calls, 2 from one person and 2 from the same person that I referred to Larry from the jail. The first person that called, he was calling because he wanted to know how to protect himself from an unlicensed social worker, counselor. And that this counselor, unlicensed counselor, was going to report him as a dangerous person. He mentioned he was Latino, and he was very concerned. He called again, and then I called him back. And when I went to give him advice, he had already sought advice. It was to go to the HHS.
Was he implying that he was Latino or the counselor?
No, he was Latino.
Okay.
But the counselor was unlicensed, and he did mention that he was also a counselor.
Oh.
And he did report this person to, I believe it was HHS, not DHCS. No. It was solved. I didn't have to do
I'm really
anything.
confused, Carol. Was this person, you saying both those involved were counselors and both of them were unlicensed?
No, he was, and he was seeking counsel. And the person he was talking to, I guess, he said was unlicensed.
Okay, and he had complained about the unlicensed social worker. In the future, should you get a call like that, then the proper referral is to the Board of Behavioral Science Examiners, and that's where you make a complaint against a licensed or unlicensed marriage, family, child counselor, social worker, psychologist. Psychiatrists are dealt with through the medical board.
Yeah, on our little sheet, that's the only thing I can see that would pertain to that call.
Did he happen to say why he thought the person was dangerous?
No, he said the unlicensed counselor was threatening him to report him that he was a dangerous person. And he was
The counselor was going to report the patient. Who's?
Well, he didn't say.
Okay.
And I didn't, when I called him, that's what the message said. And I didn't get to go into the details because he said he had solved the problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Unlicensed counselors. I don't even, that's, what, how you, I've never heard of that. It's,
You just set yourself up and say, I am.
but I mean, isn't there some kind of requirement or, don't you have to have some kind of a license to counsel?
Well, it all depends, of course. For example, and I don't want to take too much time about this, social work is either spelled with a small s, small w, and that could be a person who works at county social services, could work in a drug alcohol facility. Social workers with a capital S, capital W have master's degrees, and they can then go and sit for licensure, as can those who get a master's degree that makes them eligible for marriage and family child counseling. In California, and I think there's like 35 states in the country that has a MSCC type license. And then, of course, psychologists are licensed as well. Counselor can be a school counselor, and they could be, have a clinical background or not. They could get a degree from, I think, Cal Poly has a degree program where you can get an undergraduate math or bachelor's degree in some kind of counseling related field, and then you can get your master's to allow you to sit for a license. So yeah, the counseling word is a little weird. Therapist is the most commonly used word in the profession.
All the time.
Okay.
That brings us up to speed. Ellen is on the phones now. Aaron will be middle of the month. And we have 2 months worth of volunteer spaces available.
I'll take the last 2 weeks in December.
Last 2 weeks in December. Okay.
I'll take the last 2 weeks in November.
Okay. And if we have a cheat sheet that I can share with you as far as phone numbers, passwords, stuff like that I'll share with you before you get started. Okay, we've still got some more dates.
I'll take December
First, Carol. Yes. That leaves the 16th through the 30th, which is Thanksgiving period.
I just took that.
Oh, I thought you took the first through the 5th.
No, the last.
Oh, okay. You're right. So then the one that's available is the 1st through the 15th of November. Volunteers?
Well, I could.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Rick. And that'll be your first time on the phones too, so I'll get you the same information that I'm going to get for Lance.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jim, while we're on that topic, do we have any more resource cards available?
Well, there's a couple on the table over there, but do you need a quantity of them?
No.
I can get those to you pretty soon. In English, I assume?
Yes, please.
Okay. Standing committee reports. Guy, let's see, disappeared.
No.
Guy, is there anything to report on sanctuary? You lost the volume again.
No. I was on mute on that one. No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, thank you. And then under ad hoc committee reports, the first one is cultural awareness. And that would be Carol.
And I apologize. I text Larry and Bird and said a potential time I forgot all about it. Apologize. And Kim, I just see that you're on the committee.
I think I was added the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
You weren't not here.
All right, thank you. But I did have the opportunity to speak with the coordinator for Eureka Humboldt, Eureka City Schools. They had a meeting at United Indian Health Services, and it was diversity training. So I made contact with her so we can get the information regarding the city schools.
Okay. Any questions for Carol? All right, the next item up is hate speech versus free speech forum. And I believe there is a report to be had from Rick.
I can go ahead and to present something, yes. So basically, the committee, which involved myself, Larry, and Bird, were requested to plan a public event to look at the notions of hate speech, free speech, civility, some of the contrasts. And we met on September 27th, and Jim graciously also attended that meeting as well. And as we looked at a number of ideas, we thought that it would be nice to have an actual forum with more expert or qualified presenters who would be then discussing some of these issues. And some of the questions that we thought we'd look at is how the panelists would define free speech, hate speech, civility, what kind of things can kind of bring a community together, what kinds of things are divisive, and when does free speech merge into hate speech? And just kind of looking at civic engagement, civil discourse, civil just civility. And we thought that representatives might include groups that have, say, been targets of hate speech. They may also be representatives of those who have been accused of giving hate speech.
Are you done? I can wait till you're done.
I'm sorry.
I just had a question, but I don't want to actually interrupt you if you're still going.
Well, I've got a little bit more, and then
Okay, I'll write it down.
And we can go ahead with the questions. Also, in terms of, so groups that may have experienced it, groups that have been accused of providing it, we thought that perhaps we'd have something like attorneys with expertise in First Amendment rights, and especially perhaps attorneys that had genuine and different outlooks in terms of interpreting free speech and hate speech. Possibly editors, officers of local media, perhaps a representative from a political party. And at that point, then, Bird raised the topic that the League of Women Voters might be a good group that we might coordinate with. And Bird then took our ideas, and because the League of Women Voters met, I think, last Tuesday, and just to get the process going, she presented our ideas to them, and Bird will also have a report here too. So at this point, I think that what I'd like to present to the group is kind of an endorsement, and I can maybe make a motion for this, but also certainly allow the discussion, part of what was started. And I think that Bird's response from the league would also be good to include before we make any decisions on that. Does that seem feasible? Okay. So I would move that the Human Rights Commission engage in a joint cooperative relationship with the League of Women Voters to present a forum addressing the topics of free speech, hate speech, and civility.
Can I perhaps add a couple of words to your motion?
Please.
That it would be the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County, and that it be, we propose an educational forum.
Okay, that sounds very good and very appropriate.
And education is one of the things that we are charged with, and it makes it probably easier to work with the league in terms of who is on the panel.
I think those are real good points, and I certainly will hold them.
Before we get into any discussion, could you kind of restate it one more time?
Okay. Thank you. That's a correct.
Slowly.
Well, yeah, she's trying to write it down, and we're trying
You
to.
don't want me to say the move that the commission engaged in joint cooperative. You don't say it one and it's heard like that. All right. So let me say it again. That I move that the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission engage in a joint cooperative relationship with, and stop me anytime you want to, with the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County to present an educational forum addressing the topics of free speech, hate speech, and civility.
And I second that.
Okay. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion now. Guy, go ahead.
Just a couple comments real quickly on that. It's probably too late to tie it in with the Bill of Rights Day, which is December 15th. But perhaps one of the areas we might tie this in with is History Day. Comes in, I believe it's the first week of March, and this ties in all the junior highs, high schools that are involved in the program with Cal Poly. And I'm trying to think, let me see, I think I have it on my phone here real quick. The topic for this year, which might fit in with it, is called Turning Points in History. So might be something we could tie all together. Just a thought.
Okay. Nazanin, you still have your question?
Yes, I have a few comments or questions.
Sure.
I think it's a good idea to phrase it as an educational forum because I have a little bit of safety concerns regarding inviting people both who have been potential victims of hate crimes and people accused of committing said hate crimes into the same room. That doesn't sound like a good idea. It doesn't sound safe to me. So just that. And then the other thing I was going to say is that it'd be really cool. I don't know if you saw that there was like a conflict between one of the pastors from Ferndale and the Bear River Rancheria because he was trying to host a panel very similar to this on free speech and they canceled him allowing to use this due to the hate speech that he's said in the past. And that's like a really, like that just happened this last week. So if you don't know about it, you should check it out. But it would be really cool to hear from the Bear River folks. And I know that they are open to talking about it. Like they wrote something for the Lost Coast Outpost, but like, that's why I want to talk about those things.
Okay.
Perhaps it would be a good idea if I give the report of what the League of Women Voters said, and that gives you perhaps a little more information. The League is very interested in doing this in cooperation with the Human Rights Commission. They were very enthusiastic about it, but it would need to be an educational forum rather than the kind of forum that the League often does where they have pros and cons of something because of exactly what you're saying. And several people on the League board were very uncomfortable with the possibility. We had said Bramwell as as an example of this, and they were very uncomfortable about possibly giving him a soapbox for this kind of thing. So the League has a committee that is set up to work on this kind of thing that will probably work with our committee. They would like to see as much publicity as possible because they think it is a very important topic and that there would be a lot of people who would be interested in it if we do it the right way. But we don't see it happening until probably January because of the holidays. I mean, we're halfway almost into October and November and December. Well, tomorrow will be halfway through to me. You see my calendar. Anyway, it's with the holidays coming up. We are all volunteers here and in the League, and they did not want to commit to something before the holidays are over. They would like to see it in January and February at the very latest. So I think that's what our committee is probably going to work toward. And they, as I said, there was concern about who gets invited to this. And I think if we emphasize the educational part, then I think we can do better in terms of who's invited to speak, and how they will be able to talk about how they see free speech and what's happening in our community. So, and the committees, the lead committee felt that working with this committee, our ad hoc committee, that we should probably come up with questions that we would be asking these people so that we are directing the kind of conversation that happens. And if you're not familiar with a league forum, it is a very strict forum with a facilitator. Every person answers the same question and has the same amount of time available to them. So it's not a free-for-all, it's not a debate. It is an actual forum and is very structured so that it is fair. And some people say boring in terms of what you get. It's an educational thing. So you're not listening to people back and forth yelling at each other. You're hearing what people have to say about the question that was asked of them. There also, since we met and since I sent out my email to you, Rick, I talked with Molly Kate, who is a league member and also counselor, whatever she would be called. She offered to work with our committee in terms of helping us look at the psychology of things and the kinds of questions that might be the very best ones. So I was going to propose that we have her attend our next meeting, and then at the next meeting of the Human Rights Commission, we might have some ideas even of some of the questions and get some more ideas from the rest of you of what we would be asking. So we'll be doing preparation during November and December, but I think we need to look at that January when we're going to have it. October. Yeah. Okay. And I hope maybe that answers some of the questions or concerns that people might have had.
Good. Okay, Lance first and then Larry and then I'm
I apologize for coming in very late this discussion. I assume that you had discussions about this that led up to you doing your community reach out. That's great. I'm a cynic when it comes to trying to figure out ways of dealing with hate speech in the community. As we have seen in the last 3 years, hate speech has gotten worse, not better. And we have done a lot of work on trying to do the reverse. So I'm a little cynical. If you haven't done a lengthy lit search on how to do this, those communities, maybe commissions like ours, have done something over the last year that's worked, because not much has. So I guess I'm not so much a cynic as I wonder how much homework you've done, how much homework the league has done. Would they be replicating something that they've seen somewhere else that's been done and done well? The other point is that what typically happens, and the reason that I believe these kind of interventions don't work, is because the people you need to get to don't come to the meeting. If you have a hate speech outreach effort, if those who are engaged in hate speech don't hear it, then what you're doing is just repeating this for yourself. And we do that. Progressives talk endlessly about ourselves and how we can get better. But the people that you need to get to is the guy in Ferndale. And how do you get him to the table if you want to make change?
Larry and then Aaron.
I don't know if this is right, but I'm thinking that what we need as our subcommittee might be beneficial if the commission give us some kind of a blank check, but authorization to, we want to put, if we're going to get this thing going, we want a poster that Humboldt County with, you know, as well as all the other media kind of things. So that's going to take some funds. It'd be nice to be able to know that we have, as long as it's focused on, you know, our mandate, that we can incur some expenses without having to come back and saying that we want $5 and make a 5 cents for this. It just, you know, trust us that, you know, we can make this work. It sounds like we have, you know, some funds from the county that, you know, we can access. Personally, I think, you know, about getting them to come, let's feed them. Not only feed them, but I'm thinking that it would be really, and again, we can work, you know, go on, we got a lot of work to do, but one of the other things I said, you know, let's have, while we're feeding them, have Del Arte or a group of, you know, people do a skit, put this up on the stage and have them give us an example of how this happens and how to respond to it. You know, some kind of, you know, something like that. I think it is important that we get, and you know, it's a high risk kind of thing, getting, you know, the haters to come and not, you know, try to just totally disrupt, you know, what our efforts are. But I think, you know, there should be some way to you know, get the Brownwells to, you know, to come or participate without, you know, ruling everything. Again, I think, you know, we've got a lot of work
yet to do. Aaron?
I would say that I share Lance's view that, or cynicism, that an event like this is going to get the worst of the worst people who are perpetuating hate speech in the community to show up and change their ways. But I don't think that's necessarily the only benefit of an educational forum. There's a lot of people in between, and there's a lot of people who are frequently victims of hate speech in the community who need to know what it is, how it's different than from free speech, and what they can do about it. There are already systems in place and laws in place that allegedly protect us from these things. So I think a community education event could be good in that way. I don't think it's a good idea to lure people who are like kind of favoring community terrorism over education to an event and say, like, we're going to change them. But I do think that the rest of the community can benefit.
I do agree. And I'd like to piggyback on that to what you said earlier. I don't think the goal should be to try to change any extremists' view. But if this is an educational function, it might tie in with something that Guy mentioned earlier, having students present or invited could be a real asset to this event, because they're the ones that need to learn how to deal with these kind of speeches and acts. It isn't so much about converting anybody as educating those that need to deal with them.
I have just a follow-up thought. I think Larry's comment was a really good one, apt. And I agree, Aaron, that there is benefit to doing this kind of adventure, as long as we really clearly understand what the goal is, what the target population is. And as you were talking about this stuff, I was reminded that the Boys and Girls Club does skits on their stages fairly often to help those who are subject to hate speech deal with comments from loved ones and family, etc. And I'm wondering if you might want to triple up and engage the Boys and Girls Club in the effort, because they may be really interested in helping to deal with hate speech, because those kids get it pretty regularly.
Good point. That's a good thing for our committee to talk about.
Oh, yes.
I was going to ask Lance if he'd be willing to become a member of that group or committee.
Sure. And I'm also on the Boys and Girls Club board, so that might make things a little easier.
Well, if you're volunteering, you're appointed.
That works.
As a little,
Did you invite the pastor from Ferndale to become a member of the Human Rights Commission?
No,
That hasn't happened yet.
I think you should do that. I know we don't have a vacancy here.
No, there are no vacancies at the moment.
well, Jim and I met with him,
We did.
You did that.
and someday I will tell you so.
Okay, all right.
I will defer to Bert's wisdom. After, I read a lot of military political history. And one of my favorite quotes, it's several places in my apartment, is you can never tell what direction a loose cannon is going to fire.
Nazanin.
Yeah, and not to push the point, but furthermore, I don't think that's funny at all, actually. Because even suggesting that it would be a good idea to invite that person into a space when at least I can speak for myself, I'm here, that's putting me directly in a position to be harmed. And that there are Native American women here as well. And we do have to take this kind of stuff more seriously because, like, from the conversation last time we met, if we are really working towards bridging these gaps and curating safe spaces for marginalized people, that is the opposite of what creating a safer space is, because that person is like staunchly anti-LGBTQ. And I'm not saying that if he wanted to apply on his own, technically he could, other than that there are no vacancies, but that would really that would put me in the direct line of fire.
Yeah.
And so it worries me when we have these conversations and that it's an afterthought. I want you guys to notice that with all of these, with thinking to invite people who have both been harmed and cause harm through hate speech, considering the harmed person is an afterthought. It's not fun and games. Like that could, you know what I mean? Like if we did that just in theory, I know we're not going to, and I appreciate Holly for bringing that up, but I would have to leave. It wouldn't be a safe place for me and Aaron to participate.
Sure.
You'd also be inviting me to leave definitely and figure out how I could defend my community from what the commission would possibly be doing.
Well, this is a good discussion to have. And I think on behalf of the committee, I can say that the whole discussion about who would be there was to try to find a balance of some sort. That nothing's decided at this point, and nobody should be having to worry.
Well, right. I mean, yes, in terms of like the event, but he is like a human rights violator. So to insinuate that it could be like everyone's like giggling, oh, it could be fun to invite him to the commission. Like, no, we're not having the same types of conversation as this person is. Yeah.
Understood.
So not to be harsh about it, but be harsh. Yeah.
We should get back to the motion.
Yeah.
That's what the discussion is supposed to lead to. Does anybody need me to repeat the motion before we take a vote on it?
Why don't you just do it once more, just so that we all.
I move that the Human Rights Commission, the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission engage in a joint
educational
cooperative relationship with the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County to present an educational forum addressing topics of free speech, hate speech, and civility.
Yes,
that's right.
That's exactly right.
All right. There's no further discussion?
Question?
Yes.
Well, I would just, so we're saying that there's no way that this rabble could be civil.
Well, that's really the issue at the moment.
I mean, I don't know, but if under no condition, because there's some rules of civility that, you know.
Well, remember, the committee and the league have the opportunity to set the parameters
and bring it
for this, and we can
And
agree with
everything
that.
will come back to the commission before it's set in stone.
Absolutely.
I think I appreciate the question of
could he be civil? But to me, it doesn't matter. Because he's not civil publicly, and he thrives on that, and his followers thrive on that. And I just don't think it matters. We're not ever going to change his mind. I like the idea of this educational event to help people know their rights and know what they can do to defend themselves. I love the idea of the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I don't know him. I didn't know any of his people, so I just.
And I think he word Jamie as followers, because that are other people watching the situation that are getting agitated one way or, you know, whatever, and that's making it more unsafe in the streets or outside of the event or being followed home, or so we don't know. And when you have followers, that's kind of like cultish, right? So these people aren't thinking on their own to come up with a reasonable and responsible conclusion of their own. They're just going along with whatever this person says. So I think that is key when you said that, is anybody that has connections like that, it's not.
I would just say, as an educational forum, I think it stops with the people presenting should be people who are well educated in the topic and able to teach it to other people.
And have a lived experience.
Well, the committee has some feedback that will be helpful in making your next decisions.
I would just like to say congratulations to the commission for the kind of discussion we have just had, because we have demonstrated civility. We don't all have to think the same way, but we listen to one another and we take into consideration the things, the points that people make. And I've got a bunch of notes, and I'm sure Rick and Larry do too, for what we will take back to our committee. So thank you very much for everyone, for the things that you've said and the concerns that you brought up.
Looking forward to you bringing it back to us.
Okay, well, we do have to vote to start the process. So all those, unless there's any further discussion, all those in favor of adopting the motion, please raise your hand.
Lisa's got hers up.
And both Guy and Lisa do. It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Jim, if I
Yes.
can just maybe make a quick comment. If I can talk with the three of you after to find out if we can get a tentative date to at least present to the league. I'm wondering if some of the league people couldn't also be part of the Zoom as we begin the process. You mentioned the one person, but you know, there's also the other committee. I'm just wondering if we can't maybe move a little more directly if we have as many of the people who are contributors able to meet here right away. So let me just talk with you after the meeting and see what kind of dates we might, at least among the four of us, work with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, it's Lisa. I had my hand up, but since we're making a couple comments after the vote, I'd like to recommend one of the topics, you know, maybe to get some kind of a, I would say anti-hate, but just talk, you know, it's you know, living amongst, you know, diversity, you know, and how we can, you know, respect one another. It's about respect each other's differences. And maybe look for like a billboard or some kind of, you know, some kind of public, you know, announcement or something like that. Maybe a little campaign, you know, whenever you guys get there and talk amongst yourselves, you know, it's good to have an outreach way that's sponsored by, and even go back to the county. These are some of the things I think we can ask for funds for. And additional funding from them if we need to, you know, help with something like that. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
They're probably not aware of that.
Yeah, the PSAs came to my mind too. And just a suggestion before we move on to the next subject, maybe adding another word to this topic, so civility in a diverse society. Maybe that includes that thought process that would allow that to become part of the discussion. You're cold?
No, it's
Oh,
like,
It's really?
I feel like I'm just, it's everyone's breath. There's no, we've talked about that, there's no airflow in this room.
I don't know if that's the heater.
I know, it's like there's no.
Okay, folks, let's, the next committee, would be the homelessness and behavioral health. Well, first, Holly, let's see if Guy has a report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I have a feeling the answer is not.
I don't have a report per se, but as Carol and Jim know, I've been sending out material because we do have some important legislation that was passed by the state legislature, and it is on the March 5th, 2024 ballot. And I sent you a copy. I don't know if it got out to everybody. And I know it's too early to be talking about coming out one way or the other on it, but I would hope that people would take a look at that infrastructure bill that is on the ballot, because that's supposed to support housing. It's over $6 billion in bonds to build housing in the state of California. So it's a rather major one.
That proposition again?
I don't know what the number is going to be, but it's AB 531. It's called the Infrastructure Bond of 2025 or 2023. And it will be on the ballot along with the Housing for All initiative locally that was put out by, I guess, Arkley, Rob Arkley's group, the Security National, and that's another particular issue that is rather controversial. And I know I shared, especially with Jim, about inviting people from both sides of the initiative to give them an opportunity to speak before the commission, and then whether or not we take any position on either one of the bills. I don't know whether we're entitled to do that as a commission or not, but I thought at least, if nothing else, we could at least do some presentations. But I thought everybody needs to at least take a look at what that is. And I did send that out to Jim. I don't know if you had a chance to send it out to all the membership.
I sent out an invitation to the Housing for All committee to see if they would attend a meeting and present their side of the issue. I have not heard back from them yet.
Yeah, well, that's been the same on the other side too. I filled out one of their volunteer forms without volunteering with the comment, but I did check with local news people that I know, and they gave me a direct line. So I did send out a note to one of the members of the coalition. So they haven't had a chance to respond back to me, but I'm hoping that we'll get maybe some people that will actually want to talk about that.
I'm going to ask you to maybe do a brief report in print in an email.
Sure.
To me, because we can barely hear anything you're saying, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
That way the commission will know what you did say and what progress we've made so far.
Okay.
And you had a question. You had a question or comment?
No, a comment. It was in the Time Standard this morning or yesterday morning, but Saturday, October 7th, at the Labor Temple, 9th and E, AHA is starting the process of getting the showers available again.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And food and chit chat and reconnection from 11:30 to noon, and then the General Assembly from 12 to 2. And I'm so excited. I can hardly stand it.
Okay. Steve, nice hand in the air again, and Lance, I know you've got a comment as well.
The proposition on the ballot this November.
Not November.
Is a nuisance.
Not November.
March.
Oh, it's next March?
It's in March. Yeah, they're all in March.
March. It's Newsom and Daryl Steinberg, the mayor of Sacramento, who palled together to initiate this proposition.
Which one?
It's going to need B number.
I don't know. I don't even know if they've identified a name for the proposition yet. Probably not.
It's just the infrastructure bond of 2023.
Infrastructure bond of 2023.
Yeah.
That's how.
Can you email that out to us?
It's just.
Okay. All right. So Newsom, as you all know, is running for president in 2028. And one of the things that he's being hammered about is the homeless problem in the state of California. And he deserves to be hammered, as does Democratic control of the legislature, Republicans, you know them. The proposition in March is to carve a third of the Mental Health Service Act money that has been in place now for 16, 17 years. It's the principal funding source for mental health services throughout the state. Mostly services for the adult seriously and persistently mentally ill. A third of the budget for Humboldt County mental health is going to be assumed by this proposition, and that money will then go into a pot, and the state will determine who's going to get it to develop housing for the homeless. This is the same Mental Health Service Act. As you can tell, I really have a lot of passion about this, because this really bothers me a lot. Taking money out of mental health services to pay for housing of the homeless is so illogical, because what it will in fact do is create more homeless. Because if you don't provide services to the seriously mentally ill, they become homeless. It is idiotic. I am a friend of Daryl Steinberg. I invited him 20 years ago or so to come up to Humboldt when he was on the track for the Mental Health Service Act proposition, which passed through efforts from people like me. And we liked it. And then, of course, Steinberg and the state people micromanage mental health service funding. For example, one of the elements in the law says that these funds can be used for a homeless person, but the definition for a homeless person is someone who's been unhoused for over 6 months. That's the application of mental health service, that if you're homeless for the first 6 months, you don't receive service, you don't get funding. No county is allowed to provide those services if they want to get reimbursed. Steinberg's a lawyer. So is Newsom. They're not mental health people, and they don't support local mental health in the way that it needs to be supported. People who have the money locally need to make the decision about who their populations are, who their population needs are, and you need to be able to do prevention. This is an awful bill, and it is a successor to the bill that we have now in place, where 5 counties in the state of California get, on recommendation of a mother or father, get to commit somebody involuntarily because the parent doesn't like how they're living their life. That's the law now. 5 counties are doing this, and I think next year, the year after that, all counties are going to be mandated to do that. It is such a human rights violation to force somebody who does not meet 5150 criteria to be mandated into care. And if they don't follow through on that, guess what happens to them? They're sent to jail. Is that how we want to spend our mental health dollar? So this is an issue, priority number one for me, and I'm going to hump this. And I'm not a friend of Gavin on this issue. And I continue to write him as well as Steinberg that I am really loud about this. So I'm going to be quiet for the rest of the meeting. I promise.
Well, I would like to recommend that you join a committee.
What?
Homelessness and behavioral health.
Okay.
I think you would be a good asset. And as it turns out, under new business, the question is raised, what steps could the commission do in endorsements? Perhaps one of the earlier things would be some sort of a statement on this issue or any other issue related to homelessness.
I will make it a point to get objective data about the initiative in March and bring them to the table, and try and get out of the road so you guys can make your own reasoned opinion about it.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Guy or this committee? All right. Oh, he does. Guy, yes, go ahead.
It's not another question. I just did want to add a couple things that we also, Larry got in touch with me regarding, again, some concern over at Mad River with some of the homeless, I guess, getting moved out. And I did check with the Arcata Police Department to find out if they were doing anything. The only answer I got from the acting chief right now, Bart Silvers, was that the police had nothing to do with any of the encampments over there. Apparently, according to his message back to me, Environmental Services was doing work at Carlson Park, and apparently they were, again, moving some of the homeless out during their work going on over there. And then the only other incident that I was dealing with, at least individually, was some of you may have seen a letter to the editor regarding some of the subsidized housing that a woman was essentially being pushed out, and she was asking for help. And again, this is something I was talking with Jim about. I did a visit, couldn't locate her. So ultimately what I did is I sent her information and I sent it in the mail directly to the apartment building in Arcata.
There's a lot going on. Looks like we'll have to schedule a meeting, an actual meeting in the near future.
Don't have to meet.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Indigenous Peoples Committee. And Lisa, I know you're calling in from a long ways away. We are having trouble hearing at this end. So if you'd like to share what you were going to share, please go ahead.
Well, I'm going to try to put another meeting together, so that's good. So I need whoever I reached out to get another meeting going. But while I was at it, I got to thinking about getting permission from the board to do an outreach to the tribes, either like sending a letter maybe to them and scheduling a time to discuss with the tribes what their needs are relevant to, our work as a board, and to start engaging that way and start finding people that will represent, the tribal council for the Human Rights Commission, so that we can hear directly. We have a direct connect with them. So I'd like permission from the board to do that. Or we could discuss it in our committee and come back to this board. So whichever you guys feel is appropriate. But I wanted to start doing some outreach to not only the tribes, but the MMIW organization.
It does seem like it would be best if the committee met first, partly because we're having such difficulties hearing and comprehending what you're sharing. You do know who the other members of the committee are?
Well, I know it's Guy and Carol, and I think there was one more, maybe.
Larry Miller.
Okay, yeah.
So if you need any help or organizing a Zoom meeting, or if you could do it on your own, that's fine too. Get in touch with those members and see when you can meet in the near future, and then we can have something to act on.
At least
Okay.
send us an email. I got it yesterday.
Okay. Well, then you let me know when you all agree to meet, and then I'll be glad to set up a Zoom link for that meeting if you wish.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I continue?
There. Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
I'm just sitting on
You could just sit in on it. You couldn't participate because we can't have more than 4.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm reading that correctly, Megan Bird. Yeah.
Well, somebody might challenge that.
Yeah, you definitely could not vote.
You could,
You can sit in on it though.
Yeah.
I'm always a learner. I always want to learn about everything, and especially some of the things that we advocate for in here. But just if you don't know, October 9th is Indigenous Peoples Day, and I think that this is a great time to challenge all of you to go online, do a search. The Smithsonian, the United Nations, there's some really great resources where we could just kind of educate ourselves a little bit on these things. Just thank you for that.
It's also a lot of great things happening that week on campus. I'm happy to send out a flyer with events. People.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the newly reworded.
Well, we're not renamed yet.
Okay.
Because we have to make that's our action item.
Okay. I jumped the gun.
And you jumped the gun.
I did. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The Human Rights Commission committee meeting, and Jane, report.
Yeah, so we met twice since our last full commission meeting. We met on August 23rd and September 19th, and all of the commission or all the members were present. We decided to take a little bit of time to talk to other junior human rights commissions. And the first one we met with was from Sonoma County. So the coordinators came and shared with us a little bit about the structure, the history of kind of how they got set up. And we talked about recruitment and outreach and application processes and selection processes, and then how are the youth supported. And then we had an incredible aha moment that we've been calling this a Junior Human Rights Commission, which really kind of like minimizes the impact of the youth. And so our first action, which Jim is very hopeful will pass, is to propose that we change the name of our ad hoc committee and the project to the Youth Human Rights Commission versus Junior Human Rights Commission. So I'd like to propose that we make that change as an action.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on changing the name of that ad hoc committee? If not, all those in favor of approving the name change, please raise your hand.
Lisa?
I'm raising my hand. I'm trying to turn my thing.
She's raising your hand. Okay. There she is. Okay, it's unanimous.
Great, thank you. So now our agenda is correct. So then they recommended that we talk to more commissions. So we reached out to San Francisco, and we had 3 folks who are coordinating that project come join us. And it was night and day for us, and I think created more questions. And again, we went through all of the processes from kind of just the history and the structure of their youth commission, and how they recruited, and like how they selected, and what their training and what their activities were. The big thing for both of them, they both have funding. So even the Sonoma County one has $5,000 is their budget, their annual budget for the youth commission. That San Francisco one I can't remember exactly if they told us the exact budget, but they have a ridiculous amount of resources. They're actually a structure within their city and county. They have a building where people work and youth come daily and participate in projects. They feed them. They what? They have 3 full-time employees who only work with the youth commission. So that was a little bit impressive and exciting and also probably out of our reach. But it did kind of spark for our committee the need to talk to more youth commissions. So since that meeting, one of the people from that San Francisco did send me a list of other youth commissions. And I'm looking to find some that are kind of similar in population size and county structure as ours, so we can kind of see what are some like comparable options. I'm not going to go through all of what they taught us. There's 3 pages of notes on each of those meetings, and it's linked in our folders if you want to check it out. But the big kind of key takeaway is that they both had full-time staff, multiple full-time staff. They both had budgets to feed and to train.
You know where the dollars came from?
I don't know.
Well, San Francisco, I would assume, came from the city and county of San Francisco.
I did
Could be quite.
funded under the clerk's budget of the Board of Supervisors.
Which is probably fine.
So the general fund money from the county. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we take them under and make them a subsection of ours, can they use our money?
We would have to decide that, I would imagine.
That would be something we would have to discuss.
Because that would be probably, if we were interested in doing something like that, it seems like it would be a faster path than having to try to go to our board of supervisors and get them approved. Yeah. Like, what if we just make it a little, we have $5,000.
That's 5,000 just for the youth commission.
Yeah, but we gotta start somewhere. I mean, we can't give them 5,000, but we could give them like 1,500, and they could do something with that. They're smart. Yeah.
Both of the commissions also, since we've met, have given me access to like all of their bylaws and documents. And so that'll be our kind of next step, is looking through those and seeing what we want to glean from that, so we're not recreating the wheel.
How long has the group been up and running?
So the one in Sonoma started in 2012, 2013. And San Francisco was a long time.
Yeah.
I don't even think they knew this. The staff, established in 1996.
Wow.
And it was a charter, it was established as a charter amendment between the city and the county in San Francisco. They had something happen there. We don't know, but they had a full 100% staff turnover during COVID. So all the people we talked to were new. They all hadn't only been there a year. They were incredible people, though, and super inspiring. So yeah, so again, all the notes and details are in the packet if you want to check them out and look. So our next steps. One more update. So since then, so for those of you who don't know, I'm the chair of the social work department at Cal Poly Humboldt, and I was in a meeting with the chair of the education department there, and she was sharing that she and her colleague had just gotten a big grant to support building skills around civic engagement for youth in high schools. And I thought, that seems like a really good partnership. So I messaged her, and we'll be meeting with those two folks to see if there's any room to maybe support, provide funding, or at least tag on to some of the work they're doing, to see if that makes sense. And so we're invited to talk to them about that.
A lot of work done.
And our next meeting is October 17th. Okay. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to tie pieces together here, and I don't know if the speech forum will have a Zoom component or not, or if it could. But I'm thinking perhaps a representative from one of those two youth commissions that has particular knowledge of hate speech or has been a victim of it or whatever might be a good additional representative to the discussion. And just a thought.
Yeah, maybe. The San Francisco one actually has, so their youth have 3 committees. Their commission has 3 committees. One of them is on civic engagement, education. Seems like something that
Probably in that next. Yeah.
would be interested in.
Just want to mention that the Humboldt Area Foundation has a youth leadership fund.
Yeah.
And they are kind of, for not a lot, but maybe anywhere between $500 and $1,500 that they want to support programs that enhance youth leadership. And it seems like the work that you're doing will fall really nicely into that sort of a program.
Thanks. I remember you told me that last meeting and I had it all intentions to check it out and I forgot. So I just wrote it down.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Any other comments from you want to capture that?
It's been really inspiring. Everyone who came and talked with us was very informed and excited, and they shared a lot. It's very impressive.
I just got an email today from the Sonoma County one, which we met with two meetings ago, and they were like, just checking in and saying,
oh, that's good.
Give us an update. We really want to look at like ways to connect the youth across the commission. Which is cool.
Very encouraging. They really were.
Yeah, everyone was super helpful. And so that's been fun. So we're going to look and see if we can also connect with some more youth commissions in other places.
Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and we really have already discussed Festejando, which was the only item I had on there. Is there any unfinished business I might have forgotten about? I remember to change junior to youth, but
it's
okay.
It's not.
If not, we'll move on to new business. And the one action we took there was to appoint Lance to that committee. And I think that I had included a link in that item. And I hope that when you get a chance, you'll take a look at it. It was something that Guy had submitted that he thought would be useful for us on basic services. And then the last item is, we've talked about this before, and the problem hasn't gone away. What steps should the commission take to provide language translations for message line and other situations? I don't know if you have any thoughts on what we might do. Obviously, the observation's been made that we need to build bridges, and I agree. So how do we start building those bridges if we don't already have a language ability?
What about using something like Google Translate or something just in the interim, just so that we can use it, we speak into it. I don't know if you've all used it before, but you just speak English into it and then it translates in Spanish, and then you let them listen to Spanish. We can do it on the phone. And then they say what they say, we translate their Spanish into English, then we feel that. It could be a little time consuming, but it also is something that's useful. I don't know if there's a better way of interpretation other than Google. That's how I do it.
Does it have a Zoom component that would work so that people could attend our meetings?
Well, if you can, when I did I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When I was just turning on the captions, you can pick other languages.
Oh,
Yeah, I've done it in Norwegian.
oh, okay.
So that's an option.
We can get the volume working. We'll be in good shape. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's
it just, there's like a ton of language.
I thought I saw it. Go ahead.
We probably should talk to Augustine Amaro, who does a lot against translators, interpreters in Spanish. And perhaps even invite him to come to the meeting and tell us if there's anything that he sees that we might be able to do.
How does he spell his last name?
A-M-A-R-O. I think I can send you his email.
Oh, okay. Right. It would all be helpful.
Yeah, I can also just share another resource. So at the FSA Hondo, when I was sitting there trying to figure out how do I translate things, I did find that, I don't know if any of you have ever used Fiverr, but it's an app or a computer-based place where people go and they kind of sell their skills. And there are a ton of really highly rated, validated translators on there. So if we need to translate documents or scripts, it's very inexpensive. They're really high quality translations of documents. So just if we can't get a county to translate anything else for us, that is a way we could use some of our money to pay people who do that.
Why don't each of you, when you have an opportunity, take a look at that app and see what you think.
It's Fiverr with 2 R's. Fiv is in Victor, ERR.
Aaron.
Hey, Jim.
Probably now less cool and techy than that. But last time I think I was here, I just Googled Humboldt Area Foundation had a list of local translators and their rates.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Yeah, could you check with the county and see if they have any services? I'm assuming they must have stuff that they're doing at the county level already. Maybe it's something that we can tie in with ourselves too.
Yeah, they have that phone service.
And I know that Larry mentioned this before too, is that we should hold them accountable for helping us with those translation services, so we're not paying out of pocket. Because they're
First, we need to make contact, but yeah. Maybe, Lance, you would know the answer to this. If I was asking about translation services from DHHS, I think it was the most straight route to find an answer without going through 10, 20 people.
I've been retired a very long time. That being said, I'm not aware of any option for those who don't speak English to be able to connect directly to the county. I don't know that maybe they've done that since.
They have a language line, but I don't know.
That's all they have. That's what we've been dealing with for 60 years.
Yeah.
That's not a particularly good way to do that.
I think I could contact the person that provides us with the Spanish language resource cards. Somebody did that, and I'll check into that. Yes, sir.
Hospitals have, I think, very expensive translation services, don't they?
Hospitals?
And hospitals, yeah, you can, because of course, when you have a person coming in, especially in the ER, but with any kind of hospital, they've got to be able to translate. So I know that, and I've seen the plaques for them, that if you need a translator. So I'm not sure what the program is, but again, that's another resource maybe to look at how to initiate a translation program.
Well, they have staff, St. Joe, for example, they've got staff that are assigned to the ER who speak Spanish. Some Asian languages, Vietnamese, maybe, but it's principally Spanish. But it's a live person. I'm wondering if you guys, if you had a phone line that simply said punch 1 for English, punch 2 for Spanish, and then all you need to do is to find somebody who speaks Spanish to interpret any messages left in Spanish.
We should be able to find out if that's possible.
Somebody from the county should be willing to do that. I mean, that's a fairly cheap way of responding to that.
Right. First guy and then Rick.
Yeah, just real quickly, I think the ideal person to talk to is Mr. Cervantes with the election division. They're dealing with translation for multiple languages for the elections. I'm assuming they've got the equipment. Maybe there's something we can tie in with.
Good point. Yes.
Just to say that the hospitals do have quite a few languages that they have interpreters for. Some of it, I think, is by telephone, when they're on, but it's beyond Spanish. It does cover quite a few others.
But by law, they're only required to have the service via telephone. They're not required by law to have all the different language options that one would need at the hospital. So everybody, all the big systems have relied upon the telephone service. And it was really helpful in the beginning, but I think it's past its run-on date. We need to do something better.
Well, we have ChatGPT options too. So I can help you walk through that, and that has translation, it says, for all the different languages. So ChatGPT is AI in video, and just not for younger people. But they can translate in English, Spanish, French, Albanian, German, Portuguese, Chinese, Ukrainian. They have over 20 of them. And so there's prompts that you can use. With simple prompts, you can tell an AI chatbot your specific needs and receive free translation services.
Mind if I reach out to you?
ChatGPT. I mean, I can research. I've never used it, but I love ChatGPT. It's the most amazing thing.
I would, yeah. I mean, I just think we should maybe vet it a little bit because it is a learning process, right? That AI is learning, and I don't know. Like sometimes Google translates kind of funky.
Right.
Why don't we stay in touch on that? Okay. All right. Any other new business? I did want to mention one thing that is transpiring, and it came up, I should have brought it up earlier in the meeting, and it has to do with the juvenile hall. We recently did a tour of the jail, and Ray Watson is, I'm waiting to hear back from him regarding visiting the juvenile hall. I went out there the other day and they were very receptive to the idea, but he's the one that has to approve it. So I'll have something to report at the next meeting.
And maybe how many commissioners would be interested in doing it?
Well, yeah, let's get it and be serious. If you would like to go, I don't know when we would do it, but if you're interested in doing it, that way I could give him a number of people. Right. I would be interested in going.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8. Okay. And that's not a commitment, but it's give us easy for me to say. Guy, I think you had another point.
Yeah, unrelated to juvenile hall, but for your future agenda item, can we talk about standing committees and ad hoc committees? I mean, now that we have a full complement of people, we might consider new standing committees and also make sure we update who is on what committees, and maybe some of us can shift around a little bit, because when we had only 8, 9 people, a lot of us were doing double and triple duty. Now that we got 15, seems like a good idea now to revisit all these committees.
I agree. Yeah, that will definitely be on the agenda.
And I have a question there. It's related to juvenile hall. We have a, the liaison for the jail, but have we ever discussed in this group having one for juvenile hall? Because that seems appropriate, especially since there's new generational differences and there's probably more than you've had.
I personally agree, and I think this visit could very well be the way to get that started. All right. Anything else anybody needs to bring up before we adjourn? Very productive meeting. Thank you so much for thanks for bearing with us online.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jim, quick question. Would you like to be included in the continued meeting of the committee with regard to
I would like to again, but again, we'll have 5 people and we can only have 4 without having
You got a lot of money.
So
just keep buying.
I will sit in and listen,
Okay.
but I won't be able to participate.
All right.
But yes, I would be interested.
Okay, but rural nights,
Right.
excuse me, asking that because, it's a little difficult to have one or two hives.
We'll get the volume fixed.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. You know, my son,
I don't know where they.
all three big hives.
Looking forward to coming out to your place and looking at all the bees.
Good night.
Bye. See you, Jim. And everybody.
That's the deal.
I'm retired. I'm three.
With that,
You have Prince now. I actually.
morning, man, morning.
So they're on my.
Okay.
Yeah.